Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's CNCF TAG Environmental Sustainability Meeting. Today is Wednesday, the 6th of December. I think it's like the second of last meeting this year. So we will have one more meeting. And that's it for this year. So I have shared my screen. You can see the meeting notes. The link to the meeting notes is in chat. If you would like to add something to the open discussion items. We don't have much today on the agenda. So a lot of time to talk about things. One note about the meeting. So it's a CNCF community meeting, which means it falls under the CNCF Code of Conduct, which can be just summarized to be awesome to each other. Thanks, everyone. I see we have quite a few attendees, and usually at the start of those meetings, of these meetings, we just welcome everyone who is new to those meetings. And if somebody would like to introduce yourself, please feel free, raise your hand or say something.
I can go. My name is Rian. I am with the Linux Foundation, and I'm helping the CNCF and the tags sorting out some admin. So I'm attending all the meetings and hear what's going on.
Awesome. Great to see you, Ryan. All right. I think we also have a lot of familiar faces in this call. So that's great. If anybody would like to introduce yourself later, you're also welcome to Shimin. Right, going to the working group updates. We have Kara with comms. Kara, would you like to give a brief update?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we were talking about, and I think that you had done, or I know you had done a not press release, a pull request on, is a checklist for KubeCon. So what we were talking about in the working group comms meeting, which is plug for, it's on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and with the time change, it would be 5 hours in the future for European time. But we were talking about having a checklist and having a pre-meeting so that we can have more of a runway and of time to get all of the deliverables done and have people associated with them. We have Claire, who has met the tag and was introduced to the tag at KubeCon, and she has graciously taken on as the events chair. Or co-chair. I mean, obviously we'll all support her, but so I'm going to be sending that out ideally for next week, and that's going to be separate from the working group, and it would be separate from this meeting. So look out, it'll be on the Google Meet calendar. I'll put it into Slack. It's for anyone to come and bring ideas for what needs to happen at KubeCon. And also, one of the other pieces we were talking about is that within KubeCon, there's kind of the big conference and what we need to do for talking about the tag with that, our maintainer talk, but then also understanding the co-events that happen. The CFP did just end last week with that, but seeing who's on point for that and how the working group comms can support that, and then also being able to sorry, my dog is crying in the background, but also being able to get ahead of Cloud Native Sustainability Week. And one of the things that we had discussed is maybe looking at it in two different ways, and that is there is a climate week that is in September, and then there's also the COP, which is typically after KubeCon. So what we could maybe consider is, as opposed to having it in October again, which is fine too, but did want to share that, you know, maybe it would be a nice call to action, either pre-KubeCon or post-KubeCon North America. So that's something that we can discuss in that KubeCon meeting as well. But it's such a big topic that, you know, I think we need a separate meeting specifically for KubeCon.
Sounds great. We didn't, like, for this year, we didn't have like any like requirements to have this in the second week of October. This was just like basically between conferences, and most people did not, there were no major holidays except in China. In China there was, I think, holidays, but I mean, we can move it to any date, September, if it matches with some other sustainability efforts. I think makes a lot of sense. So great idea. So.
Well, I'll set up an issue and then share it with the community. We can keep it open maybe until the beginning of the new year, just so folks can weigh in on, and then we can finalize it and vote and make a decision in January.
Sounds great. I think there's also more structural organizational issues open for the working group comms, to update the website,
and the well, there's a couple. So there's also the we do need to get a Slack channel dedicated to working group comms, and we are needing to update the so we had the great blog around how to contribute to the tag, but taking that and putting it into its own into the contributing markdown file. And then also the website, the markdown. There's one other thing. I have to look at the comms notes.
Yeah, would be great. I think we have most of those already captured somewhere, so people can pick those up if they have time to contribute. If not, would be great to record the somewhere outside of the meeting document. Yeah. Awesome. Are there any questions for working group comms? No? All right. Sounds good. So the working group comms meeting is tomorrow again, for everybody, anyone who is interested, talking about some of these efforts more in detail. Moving on to the next working group. Nikki, are you here? Yes, you are.
Yeah, so we just had a great meeting focusing on next steps for the Green Reviews working group. We will be focused for very, very focused for the manual workflow and the manual deployment of applications on the cluster and the infra that we're setting up. We are splitting some of the streams. So this is what William, Ross, and other folks in the working group are working on to prioritize some of the manual steps in the pipeline, ideally before KubeCon EU. And then the automation part will be afterwards. But our goal is to have the cluster up and running as soon as possible. We do have a couple of blockers there, but we're hacking around those. And we do want to have metrics as soon as possible. I think we have a path forward. If folks would like to contribute, you're welcome to join the Slack channel. And there's a lot of info also in the GitHub repo README, the meeting notes and design doc, etc. And yeah, if folks are interested, I think we're going to have more, we're breaking down the work to have things that people can pick up more easily. So that's it from my side. Would anyone from the working group like to add anything that I missed? Okay, yeah, I think that's all from us.
Awesome. Great. I think it's great that we had this meeting earlier, actually right before this one, just to talk about the goals and to split up the work and think about, okay, what is the MVP? How can we reach this goal as fast as possible? And then we can reiterate and improve down the road. So I think we are on a very good path. Awesome. There are also 2 nominations open, I think, and these happened, I think, between our last meetings. So Ross, there's a nomination of Ross in tech lead role, and Antonio in the co-chair role to replace Christina. So I think those are due. So we have like a 2 weeks deadline or whatever cadence on those proposals, nominations. And I think they were proposed last week. So next week we will have like a final call. So if you have would like to take a look at your +1s or anything to those nominations, maybe we can find a link to those. Would be great. And there's also one more nomination for Christina to tech lead, which is sent to the TOC. But you're also welcome to add your support if you like. There's a link in Slack. All right. Any questions for Working Group Green Reviews? I believe the next meeting is next week, right? Next Wednesday?
Yep, next Wednesday, same time as this one.
Awesome.
Leo,
And yes.
Yes, William?
sorry, Nikki. Leo, we wanted to have an extra meeting this week for splitting the technical work.
Yeah.
For green review.
I forgot about that. True. So yeah, that's great. I think there's like a lot of conversations need to happen. So great idea. It's not yet on the calendar, right? So we will add this after this meeting.
I that's right. I can't actually.
Yeah. I can add it, or Nikki can add it. Just ping me or her or somebody, and we will add it to the calendar. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take that on.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nikki.
All right. So for anybody who is interested in more technical contributions, Working Group Green Reviews is a great place. A lot of moving parts, a lot of green grass, green field. So feel free to join those meetings. Cool. Moving on, we just have one topic. I have one more, which I forgot to add to the discussion items. If anybody of you in this call would like to talk about something, feel free to add it to the open discussion items. So the first one from Jochen is about the landscape document, which was something we talked about briefly, I think 2 weeks ago in our last tag meeting. Jochen, I think you mentioned you added a comment about how to move forward with the landscape document, right?
Yeah, would you like to share that GitHub discussion? I could also provide the link for it if needed.
That would be helpful.
Yep, 1 second. This is where the discussion is taking place. It's in the comments, sorry, in the chat. And I basically commented my thoughts / answers to your 3 questions. Maybe we should start with your initial bit of because I'm building up on that. So you basically asked 3 questions. First one is what the purpose of the landscape document is. and whether it is serving that purpose.
Maybe 1 second, just for anybody, maybe I think everybody in this call is aware of the landscape document, but I will just pull it up very briefly. Apologies.
Good idea. Yeah, good idea.
So everybody is just aware what we are talking about. So we have, and this is like a project in the tag. It's the landscape document. It's like just like a collection of tools and also methodology and partners that we are working with. So it just should help kind of give us an overview about our field, what is in scope, what is out of scope, and provides also links to further information and tools and so on. So if you, for example, are interested, okay, I'm doing, I don't know, scheduling in the cluster, there's like something here, I can go to this tab and maybe there's like some interesting links. So this is like the kind of the context we are talking about. So just everybody's aware. I think it's a very important project, but there are some things to improve this further. Maybe some ideas how we can, how end users can get more out of this document. So thanks, Joachim, for that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Any questions so far? If not, then yeah.
I have one. I have one. Because I'm going through your list of topics. And the way, so maybe we should meet separately and have a whole discussion just in landscape doc. But the way I find I can reach people according to tooling is what tooling fits in what area. So as example, scheduling is a different problem than on the node tuning. Those are different areas. Cross-cluster scheduling is another area. So with these topics, you'll note in the current landscape doc, we have stuff divided out for the areas that people may care about, so they can find the tooling more quickly. So when you divide stuff up to topics for cloud service providers and data center operators and versus cloud software engineers, those are kind of the same to me with those layers of differences between the tooling.
Okay. Yeah, I can see some of it. Yeah. All right. So let me explain my ideas behind it. Right. So let's start with the first question. The first question was who this landscape should serve and whether it's serving that purpose. And I basically identified 3 things that it should do. It should introduce central ideas, concepts, and practices. So it should provide an overview, and only an overview. So anything that is too detailed or too specific, I would want to what's it called? Extract into their own documents. So we mentioned that something is a thing, like monitoring is a thing, right? We want to monitor the software and how green the software is. And we provide a few examples and just a rough outline of what is there. But if you then want to know, like how do I specifically do this? Or which specific tools are there and how do they work? We may mention the tools, but then we link to specific documentation or other further documents down the stream, so that this doesn't become too lengthy and too detailed. And then also maybe we could highlight some challenges and just provide a way for people to get in touch, and so that people know where they can still contribute and how they can go about approaching us, or any other group that they are interested in. Right. And then, so data center operators and cloud service providers, I think of the people, so data center providers or operators are the people who are taking care of the basically the bare metal things. So they build the data centers, they plan the data centers, they operate the data centers. The cloud service providers, they then build all of the services that the cloud software engineers then use. So these would, for instance, the managed Kubernetes clusters and the serverless functions and all the cloud native stuff that we know and love. And that's what these guys do. And then the cloud software engineers are the people who then use these tools, like the managed clusters, like any kind of managed service, basically, to build software that then is presented or that then solves some problem, right? And then you have end users, which are companies who utilize, no, that's a bad word, I'm missing a word here, but basically they pay the other three to build software for them, and then they sell that software, that service, that whatever, to customers.
I call those independent service providers.
Independent service providers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that may be a better word for it. Anyway, so with those three distinct groups in mind, I feel like we're right now not serving any of them in a structured way. So if I'm a cloud software engineer, which I am, and I read through the current landscape document, there are bits and pieces that are very relevant for me. And then there are other bits and pieces who are not very relevant for me, and they're mixed. So sometimes I'll read one chapter, very relevant for me, the next chapter, not relevant. The one after that, very relevant again. And what I wanted to do is to separate those concerns out so that I know, okay, if I read this bigger chapter, then it contains pretty much everything that I, as a software engineer, can do. And other chapters will help the data center operators or the cloud service providers do the things that, or explain things that are relevant for them. Right, so the core principle here is the shared responsibility model, which we know from other aspects of cloud native development. And I want to transfer that over and into the sustainability scope, right? So we know that if I use a managed service, then I'm no longer responsible for updating my operating system or updating any kind of software that is within my stack. That is taken care of by the cloud service provider. Like, yeah, the big three ones and all the others that are out there, right? So that's something that also then extends to sustainability, because I'm no longer in charge of that part of sustainability, right? I don't know which operating system they're using or which hardware is my product running on. All I know is the little bit up on top that I actually have any influence over, and that's where I think we can restructure the document so that it is abundantly clear what I can do and what I need to rely on other people to do, or where I need to rely on other people to do their part, and that'll help restructure this. I'm not saying that we need to get rid of anything, and actually there might be some duplications. So for instance, scheduling is very relevant for the cloud service providers because they need to do scheduling if it's in a managed service that takes the scheduling part away from the cloud software engineer. And then there's also scheduling for the cloud software engineer. So I do see this, I can see that there may be the duplication, but I think if we structure this right, then we also have these general concepts and general fundamental principles that apply to multiple scopes, and I believe it should be in there. I actually just noticed that I switched the order, so actually it should be introduction, then the shared responsibility model, and then the general concepts and fundamentals, so that everybody's on the same page, and then after that, the specific ones to each of the three distinct groups that I introduced, or even 4 groups that I just established earlier.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying. Yeah, this makes sense. To prevent duplication, because the issue with duplication isn't the initial duplication, it's the maintaining it after the duplication.
Yes.
So my request would be, in those sections, you can say these are the things that are useful for a use case like you, and then do links to maybe a tools section or an appendix. So we could have a section 8, which is an appendix of tooling. Would that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So maybe reply section 8 appendix.
Yeah, I like this proposal. So I think right now, everything which kind of connects to cloud-native sustainability is kind of mushed into the landscape document, which I think is kind of maybe a good way actually to start this document, because we like this back, we didn't really know, okay, this is like how it's structured. So mushing everything into one document, I think makes sense. But now I think exactly what you are proposing, focusing more on the consumers of these documents, and then thinking about, okay, I'm this engineer. Half of the landscape falls away for us, for me, because it's just not relevant. So designing this document a little bit differently to match those and user groups, I think is a great idea. And it could also be good to complement this with the learning path. There's like one, not sure, is Max in this call? No, I don't think so. But there's another issue open in the tag to design like a learning path for people. I think maybe F has something similar, but this could maybe be like a good addition, or like a good work together kind of well. Let me see if I can find the
Yeah, totally. I didn't know about this learning path. But I mean, a landscape document should generally be there to provide an overview and to let people know what is out there. So maybe we should even then have a section under, perhaps it's under further reading, but maybe we can even provide or give it its own section, learning material or certifications or something like that.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, there it is.
I saw Catblight already made a comment. Marlo, nice, thank you.
There's also one comment in chat from Christina. I like the idea of adjusting the structure based on the roads. Regarding the learning path, it would make sense to have it as a separate document and can be linked as a landscape, for example.
I absolutely agree, Christina. Let me give you a like. If my computer allows it.
I appreciate that, Johan. Thank you very much. I could have said that. I just didn't want to always interrupt the discussion, but I think it's a really nice suggestion on the restructuring. I think it could be good to give it a refreshment.
So sorry, didn't want to interrupt.
No worries. I'll be very much interested in helping out on giving it a refreshment.
My idea was to get this ready for KubeCon EU.
Yes.
I don't really see myself finishing any of this any earlier. And I appreciate every input, every help you can provide. And
where are you working on that, Johan? Sorry, are you working like in a separate branch or somewhere else?
So far, nowhere. As I also mentioned, I'd be happy to provide a first draft. I didn't because last time we talked about it, whether it's a good idea to just start a first draft or whether we want to have this discussion first. And I think we settled on having this discussion first. And in order to have the discussion, I made this comment here. But now I feel like this has been largely accepted in terms of us going further in that direction. And so I would work on a first draft probably in a branch. Yeah, I'm not allowed whether I don't know whether I'm allowed to work on the CNCF one as a branch, or maybe I have to.
No, you have to make your own.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, historically, what I did was, the last time what I did was you have two options. You can do Google Doc, but then you have to transfer everything over, and that's a headache. Or you can make your own branch and then link everyone to it, and then they can put PRs in.
I have permissions. I have permissions to create a separate branch on the repo, on our tag repo. Maybe we could do that so that everyone. It will probably be more visible for everyone also to.
Yeah.
Are we then allowed to commit onto that branch?
Yeah, that we should check. I'm not sure if we could do it on the branch level.
I think you need to have like a fork, and then you can target like a specific branch. You don't need to have a PR open to main. You can have a PR.
All right, we'll figure something out.
What we could do, I can give you some advice about what we did for another tag. Basically, you create a feature branch on the main repo, and then everybody fork the main repo, and everybody commits to the feature branch until you're happy, and then you merge it back into main. That's one way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So if you could, Christina, if you could create that feature branch, that would be lovely. And I would maybe over Christmas write my first draft.
Is it possible to give Yochen merge rights to that so that he's not having to ask every time he makes changes?
Yeah, I mean,
that would be lovely. Yeah. If not, we will find another solution. But I would appreciate it.
Right. So because I was kind of expecting we have like a longer discussion about this, I opened like a GitHub discussion, not an issue. This turned out to be small of a discussion at the end. So I think we can close this already, this discussion, and then move it to what do you think, Marlo?
One more issue. When we start this work, at the top of the current doc, please put a note that we are updating and where, so that when people want to go make changes, in the event that they want to make changes to our current landscape doc, they know where the work should go, so that they're not doing something that then we update and delete all their work, please.
Yes, we should do that.
Right. Cool. To move this forward, would you like to open in a tracking issue and just basically write this down, and then we can, I don't know if we need more issues. I think like just one would be fine. But I think it can be, we can track it easier than a discussion. That's it. And I think then we're good to go. Christina can create the fork, and then we can see about the access rights. And I think besides that, what Marlo said, adding a note. There's also a recent change to the website that we have now multiple language support. So this is maybe also interesting for like other languages, Spanish and so on. I think there maybe some folks, at least at KubeCon, I heard like some folks are interested in also publishing some content in different languages. So this will also come to the landscape document, but this is kind of on if there's a demand and if people are interested, they can push it in different languages. The main one would be in English.
Sure. Yeah, I would start with the English version. Of course.
Yeah. All right, cool. Are there any more open discussion items about the landscape document and everything we discussed? If not, we can move to the next thing on the agenda, which is not on the agenda because I forgot to add it. But it's also a discussion which we have, and it's about brainstorming ideas. This is just something I linked this in Slack, I think 2 times, and we already have quite a bit of input. So this is very great to see. So if I scroll down, this discussion is just about collecting ideas we have in general, which we could do as a community group in the tag. So any ideas, project ideas, whatever ideas. For example, also things like, I think there was like a proposal that we also have meetings, for example, for Asia time zones. So anything like this does not need to be like a coding project, but any like enhancements or change or whatever you noticed or which would be interesting to investigate would be great to add your thoughts. You can also add multiple ideas. That's allowed. And then we can use those ideas. We will walk over them probably in the next meeting. So the last meeting of the year. And then kind of try to align our capacity with what our people in the community are actually looking for, and then kind of plan around like a roadmap for the tag. So if you have not checked out this discussion, would be great if you could spend a couple of minutes and just add your thoughts. They're already great suggestions. And as I said, next meeting, 2 weeks, the last one of the year, we will walk over those. Maybe we actually need a little bit more time, but we will see how it goes in the first meeting. So I link the discussion in chat. Right. All right, everyone. Is there anything you would like to talk about? Maybe let me open up the project board. Let me see. Right, okay. I think we touched most of these. Is there anything you would like to talk about before we close the call for today? We can also close this earlier, so this is fine. We don't need to take the entire hour.
Just a quick thank you to everyone taking initiative on projects. This is very helpful. We all have day jobs, and I know that.
Yeah, that's awesome to see. I think there's a lot of movement after KubeCon. Working group comms is doing awesome, and Green Reviews is also like on a very good track. And yeah, that's just great. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. I will stop the recording.
I can only agree with that, Marlo. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone who's working on something